Yeah. So good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tea and Chat. Today we have Amanda from MisFit. She's a personal trainer. Mandy, you have had a really extensive career. So I've been on your website, I've had a little look. We've also had a chat as well. So you've been an air hostess for 12 years. Yep. You've been a full-time reserve soldier for the British Army, and you have been a close protection operator, so like a bodyguard. And now you're a personal trainer doing one-to-one personal training with people. So can you tell me, how did this all come about? So this career from being an air hostess to being in Afghanistan and now being a personal trainer.
It's all a little bit random, I know. Sometimes when I'm talking about it, I feel like I'm just telling stories, and it's like, and I sometimes can't believe it's actually happened. But yeah, I was an air hostess for 12 years, loving life, going all over the world, having a great time. And then something happened in my personal life that made me reevaluate my whole life. And so I ended up joining the army and as a full-time reserve, but I was based in Afghanistan. So something that I had to do. Yeah, off I went. I did that for a couple of years. And then whilst I was out there, I got chatting to a load of close protection guys. And they sort of said, oh, you know, we need more females on the circuit. You could be a bodyguard. Everyone laughed when I told them I'm 5'2", pocket ninja, they called me. And I went through my close protection training, ended up out in Libya doing that. And then eventually, after I decided I put my parents through enough of me going to all these horrible places, I took a job with a Middle Eastern royal in the UK. So it was a little bit safer. And I worked for her for 4 years after I'd done a couple of years doing people and that. And yeah, and then whilst I was with her, I met a couple of girls on the team that were really into weights, and I'd done all kinds of exercise. When I was an air hostess, I didn't do a great deal. It was a lot of partying, but started running when I was an air hostess. And then from the army, I ended up doing other things, different strength training. And it was only really when I met these two girls that I worked with on the last job that I did as a bodyguard that I really got into weights. And because it was something that I'd always thought, oh, I didn't really do because I didn't know what I was doing. And they kind of introduced me to it, and so I carried on from there, and then I got myself a personal trainer, and I loved the effect that it had, and just being able to lift really heavy, and yeah, just it was, my body started to change, and it was just a completely different type of exercise. And then I decided to do my own personal training course to become an instructor, a fitness instructor. I'm a personal trainer. It started off really to learn a little bit more about the effects it was having on me. And then when I decided that I'd had enough of being all over the place, all over the world and packing every 5 minutes, I wanted to do something a bit more home-based. I thought, well, maybe this is something I can explore as a career. And it's kind of taken off from there, really. And then because I went to a personal trainer, I kind of, when I started doing it for myself, I'd learned so much from him that I saw different things that I would like to incorporate, and that's how it's gone from there.
Yeah. So what kind of services do you provide? So who do you work with mainly?
Okay, so it started off, my whole concept, MisFit, was for people that are a little bit like me. You'll have read on the website, I felt like a bit of a misfit in the gym because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I used to go into a gym and I'd see people that knew exactly what they were doing, and I'd feel really intimidated. And I thought, you know, there's got to be something here that for people that don't want to be in a gym surrounded by other people, you know, worried about picking up the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing and looking silly. And that was me. And I thought, I'm sure there's plenty of other people like that. So originally the whole idea came from that. People, if I could train people one-on-one in my own little studio, just to people that have never really experienced exercise before and just wanted to explore weights and things. That way they could do it privately without risk of, you know, being laughed at. And although, to be honest, gyms these days, people are too busy taking pictures of themselves in the mirror anyway. So
that's true, yeah.
Really look else, but when you feel like self-conscious, you know, it's horrible, isn't it? So yes, it started off like that, and I had a few people that were just a little bit self-conscious about how they looked, but then it developed, and I think in my head I thought, oh, it's people that feel conscious because they're overweight or they're unfit, but actually it became a little bit about the opposite as well, like young guys who were very skinny and felt self-conscious because they didn't have the muscles that some of the other guys that were all huffing and grunting in the gym had. And so I ended up with a lot of young lads coming to me as well to try and build their muscles and to learn a little bit more about nutrition. And then I ended up with people for all kinds of reasons, people that were going into the police that needed to pass the bleep test, people that were going for selection in the army that needed to improve their strength for various different things, a couple of brides that wanted to, you know, look the best for the weddings, all kinds of reasons. And then since I've moved to Wales, I've kind of opened up a whole new level of different clients. And now I've got children that come to me. So I had a parent that was very concerned about her child after lockdown, when all the clubs and everything had stopped. And obviously we all, I think, put on a little bit of lockdown weight. The kids seemed to suffer the most because they weren't as active, because they were indoors a lot more, you know, playing on the games and stuff. So I've got a couple of kids. I've got one young girl that comes with her mum, and then I've got a young boy that comes to me on his own. So yeah, I've got people with disabilities that are quite restricted with their movement, elderly people, all kinds. I love it, all different people.
Because exercise like benefits everybody, doesn't it? All age groups, all abilities. There's always something that you can do, and it's really scary, because I've been in a situation myself a few times, walking into a gym, and even though you have the gym induction and they're telling you about the machines, I was always too busy looking around at my surroundings to look at the machines. Then you go to work the machine and think, oh my gosh, how do I work this, blah blah blah, and it was scary. And then you've always self-conscious people looking at you, so to have somebody one-to-one, you know, it's brilliant in an environment where you're not being watched then, because it can be scary, and even more so now after COVID, when we haven't been seeing people and haven't been so social. But there's one thing I really liked on your website, is your slogan: you don't have to be fit to fit in. I love that, because the amount of people that, you know, want to get into exercise, and again, this is the importance of this video, is to try and encourage people to meet the face behind the fitness, and encourage people to start fitness. But it's always that scary thought of, I'm really unfit, you know, I'm not going to fit into this fitness lifestyle. It's that starting out, isn't it? It's really scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and it's enough to put people off doing anything. And that's, you know, that's again, that the slogan, you don't have to fit in to be fit. You don't have to look a certain way. You know, you can be a bigger person and still be fit. You can be a tiny person and still be fit. You know, it's not about how you look at all. So, and of course, and so as well, in my studio, I've only got the one mirror. I have to have a mirror in there so that people can see their form, but it's not, I think I remember once being in a gym and thinking, oh my God, this is terrifying. And I stood on, I don't know if you know the Bozu ball that's got, it's like round half thing, and I turned it upside down so I was wobbling, and I was squatting on this ball in front of a mirror, and there was like another mirror behind me, so I could see myself in 10 I thought, what is, but it's horrendous when if you don't like looking at yourself as well, and you go somewhere and there's mirrors everywhere. So yeah, so I only have like the one mirror, and so yeah, so I feel like it's a really comfortable place for people to come to, because it is just me and them, you know, and not overlooked. It's in my garage, not overlooked at all, and yeah, and then I can just help people that way, and it's not, especially when like you start to see people progress, because I make sure as well, it's another thing that I learned from my own training, I make sure I keep a note of everything everybody does, so and constantly progress them very slowly. There's no injuries, but they're always progressing, whether they know it or not. And obviously I chat a lot, as I've said to you before we started this, I do waffle, and so just keep chatting the whole way through it, and people don't even realize they're exercising half the time. And when they come in, if they're a bit stressed out from a bad week or whatever, I use that and just load up a little bit more weight and then fuel them that way. So it's just like an hour of having a chat, but they get benefits from it as well.
For me, the one-to-one experience is more to do with accountability. I'm thinking of like my exercise habits. I can just about run a bath at the moment, right? And I used to be quite fit and quite motivated. However, that as running a business and, you know, doing all sorts of stuff, that's gone down the wayside at the moment. So for me to have somebody, one person, if I join a gym, I don't really care. I don't feel accountable to the gym. You know, the gym's not going to sort of be upset if I don't turn up. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like with a one-to-one, I'm thinking, oh, I might be letting Mandy down if I don't turn up. Oh, and it's accountability. It's more motivating for me to get up and go, oh, I see Mandy today. You know, and it's and obviously with the challenges of going to gym, those are sort of taken away because you have got the one-to-one. So for me, I'm thinking, well, this is quite good, you know, because you have got that motivational factor, you know, you've got that accountability with somebody, and it's personal, which is what I like about it, you know.
Yeah, no, they do. People block book with me. I offer like a taster session that they can come and see whether it's for them, might not be for them. I might talk too much for them, you don't know, but they come for 45 minutes for a little taster session. And then after that, I do various block bookings. And people have said that, yeah, it's, you know, they've got them blocked in, then they know that they're coming to me for the next 12 weeks or however many times they want to come per week. And and it makes them accountable.
It's habit, isn't it, as well? If you've got it blocked out every Thursday, I'm seeing Mandy, it's habit then, and it's forming that habit for the future, isn't it? You know, I think it's fab. It's great. Now we have had some questions, but before I go into those, I just wanted to ask you if someone was to come to a one-to-one session with you, so this from the start, what would they expect? What kind of things do you go through?
So I've got a treadmill in my garage. I've got a rowing machine. They're the only cardio machines I have, but I do a mixture of cardio and weights. I always start off with like a compound exercise. I mean, this all can be adapted depending on people's goals. If they've got specific goals, then I write each program individually for each person's goals. But my general kind of setup is that we always start with a compound exercise, so working the big muscles, so whether it's squats or bench press or deadlifts, and then we normally go on to another body part, and then in the middle of the session I do like a little hit where we can either do the treadmill for a minute run and then another exercise for a minute, or the step. If people aren't comfortable with the treadmill, then we do like over the step, anything that gets the heart rate up. I normally do that for about 12 minutes. But my whole, again, I don't really buy into the whole concept of arm day, leg day, all of that, because in my experience, if you do that and that body part is out of action for the rest of the week, you know, everything hurts. So I'd rather make all of you hurt a little bit so that you can still function, but you're getting a full body workout. But again, that depends on if somebody's got something that they're particularly working towards. I've got one guy that wants me to make him look like Jack Reacher by his holiday in a few weeks. We're on his abs all the time. He wants his abs to be perfect, and you know, so it depends on goals. But yeah, I do like a full body workout with them. But then if they come to me and there's something that's hurting them that day, then we avoid that. I've got enough exercises up my sleeve to be able to pull something else out of the bag that will work a different part or the same part but in a different way, you know, to help work for them.
That's fab. Now, like I said, we did have some questions. We had two people asking about toning up. So I've just taken a snippet from this one person. I walk every day with the dogs, so I'm not worried about my cardio. They're out every day with the dogs, but I want to tone up and start using weights. So this person's in their 50s. So from my experience, I know you lose muscle tone, don't you, as you get older, and I think weights starting to become a bit more of a fashionable thing now. What should I start with? This is a female person as well.
Okay, so weights as you get older, especially for women in their 40s and up, weights are a great thing because for our bones and for our bone density. They also for both sexes as well help with balance and stability. So I would say to start with body weight exercises, and if you have got maybe, or if you want to incorporate some kettlebells or dumbbells, just low weights is fine. I know people worry about bulking up with heavy weights, but low weights and lots of reps is a good way to start with weights. There's so many different exercises you can do with a kettlebell that can tone your whole body. So just a lighter weight to start with. and then you can build up from there, but always go with a lightweight first with lots of reps, and build up. And then once you've mastered that and you're starting to see changes, then increase the weight of the dumbbell or the kettlebell. But body weight exercises that can be done anywhere to start with: squats, press ups, and if you can't do full press ups on the floor, do them against the wall to start with, to build up just anything that's starting to build up your resistance.
Okay, fab. We've got another question. For the last 3 months, I've been exercising, doing HIIT workouts. So I've had experience with them, they're hard. Well, they can be. And so far I've lost a stone, which is fantastic, which I'm chuffed about. The thing is, the last 2 weeks, I haven't lost any more weight and I'm getting frustrated. I know myself and know that I'm going to start losing motivation if this carries on. What am I doing wrong? I mean, this person wants to lose 2 stone. They've lost a stone already, which is amazing. But I think a lot of us have been in that position where we've just hit a wall with weight loss. So what am I doing wrong? They're asking.
Yeah, the biggest things when you plateau. There's a couple of this. The first thing I would normally say to clients if this has happened to them is to check their water intake. Just by increasing your water intake, you can get things moving again. If nothing else has changed, if you're still eating the same things that you were eating when you lost the initial stone, which is, it's a brilliant achievement, your body starts to get used to everything. So I'd look at diet. I'd always ask about diet first and see, because sometimes as well, people aren't eating enough calories. If you're doing the exercise, you have to eat. I think we're so programmed into thinking, eat less, and then you'll lose weight. It doesn't always work like that. If you're burning the calories, you need to still fuel your body. So I'd be looking at diet to see what this lady's eating, and to see whether she's having enough protein, whether she's eating enough calories, full stop. Water, definitely, because the water is what flushes out the fat. So just drinking water. I do like 1.5 litres before I've even had breakfast every day. I'm just get that water in you, just keep, and that helps flush everything out. Also, don't be obsessed with the scales, or the sad step, as I like to call it. I think we can lose track of your body changes in different ways. You might still weigh the same, but your body's changing. So I'd be not so focused on the scales, perhaps measure with a tape measure, and keep track that way, because you may be losing inches, but not losing, especially if you're doing a lot of HIIT, and the muscle obviously weighs more than the fat. And, it takes a long time for that to come into effect, but you may be losing inches rather than the actual weight. So use a couple of different methods to monitor yourself, or a piece of clothing that perhaps was tight before, because the scales aren't always the best way to but yeah, I would perhaps mix up your exercise a little bit, but definitely look at diet and water intake to start with. Yeah, I'd say definitely increase the water and mix up the exercise, because I think your body kind of gets used to it as well. Maybe add a little weight when you're if you're going out for a walk, add a little bit of that kind of thing, just to mix it a bit. It's horrible though, because it does make you lose motivation, but don't lose motivation, because you'll always have that initial drop, because you've shocked your body into doing something that perhaps it wasn't doing before. Or if you've started to eat differently, you will have that initial drop, and it will slow down, but you can get it moving again.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes, isn't it? You do focus on the scales because it's that number, that's the target. But then I suppose if you look at a picture, this person looks at a picture when they were a stone heavier, and look how far they've come. I mean, you wouldn't want to go and just throw that all away, would you, and give up now? So obviously these questions are always anonymous. So to this person, keep going, keep motivated.
Don't hope.
We've had another person, a lady, talking about post-baby exercise. Where do they start? So not before baby, wasn't a regular exerciser, but now realizing after having a baby, wants to make some changes, wants to tone up, wants to lose the baby weight, because you can I put on 4 stone with my first child. They were £10 born, but I can understand this person. You have the baby and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what you've got left, and it can be hard, can't it? So just a way to start really on exercise.
Well, providing pregnancy and birth and everything was all okay, then you can start as soon as you feel up to it, really, with gentle exercise, walking, swimming, if you're able to, just low impact stuff to start with. And then I think it's about 6 weeks after baby, as long as like your postnatal checks and everything are okay, then you can start to increase it. And I do like lightweight, sort of light weights training and body weight exercises. You just got to be careful to start with, because obviously joints and ligaments are really supple, much more supple. So you've got to be careful not to overstretch and like over twist and things like that. You have to be a little bit careful for the first couple of months. And also your lower back and your core will be a little bit weaker than perhaps they were before. So it's just about taking things easy, nice and gentle, but just increase by walking. I would say walking to start with, especially if you've got like baby in a pram. It's a great way to get out, while it's mild outside as well. So yeah, start slow, as providing there have been no complications, and you've got the all clear from your 6 weeks postnatal check.
Oh, thank you, Mandy. That's really fab. We did have quite a bit of interest in exercise. Again, it's getting to that time of year, people are starting to get out and about a bit more, aren't they? And well, it's the summer body everybody wants, isn't it? It's time to think about bikinis and swimming costumes. So Mandy, where can people find you if they wanted to book in with you?
So I'm in Brackler, the Triangle End. I've only just moved here, so that's how people describe where I am, the Triangle End. Apparently, I don't know, didn't realise that. Well, Brackler's huge, isn't it? So that's how people differentiate which end they're at. And I have got my website, misfitpt.co.uk. All my details are on there. You can drop me a line on there. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, the same, MisFit PT, or MisFit Personal Training is on Facebook. And just if anybody's interested, then they just drop me a little message and I'll give them a call for a chat, talk about what it is that they want to achieve, and I'll tell them a little bit more about how I would run things for them here, and then just get them booked in.
Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
My mind wall. Balance as well.
I love it. I do love it. Oh, thank you for coming on, and hopefully people interact with you in the group in the future, and you come on again and we'll talk about something else relating to fitness.
Absolutely. Any questions, just drop me a line, no problem.
Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm on